Okay, welcome to my mess again with this 1940 Buick with the electric steering. Ran into a lot of problems. It fits so nicely in the car and everything, and okay, time to do the shifter linkage. And as you can see, it's in a couple of pieces. This was very, very difficult. First of all, I had an alternator bracket, and I cut it short because I got rid of the alternator. So I got rid of the generator. It was a generator bracket. So I made a hole, put it over the whole tube, and then I welded it in place. So I know it was going to be right on the money. Okay. Well, this alternator bracket only goes up to, as you can see, right there. I know my welds are shit. It's the best I can do. Weld is fucking acting up too. But I gave myself plenty of room here to make sure that I can articulate the inner rod that comes out. It has about an inch of travel. Okay, I gave myself more, but then I realized it stops right here and it was up against here. So I'm like, oh no, how am I going to get that over? And then it also became this bracket's in the way and everything. So I'm like, I'm just going to make it bigger. So I had another piece of metal. It's not nearly as thick, but then I added metal to it. It was a disaster, you know, but because then it was more flimsy, and then the rod was moving around, so it wasn't as stable as I thought. And then when I got it all together, I couldn't physically get it through here. Originally, this is how it was with this. And then I had to trim this down, and it got so thin that it was able to bend a little bit, which I said, okay, I'll support it with more metal, which is what I did in the end. But then, like I said, I really needed to be longer to be able to articulate an inch in here and an inch in here. Basically, I'm going to make something that's going to go here, like a threaded rod, and then put nuts on it, and then thread the back of the shaft on both sides. And I think that should work, and it'll actually have some adjustment in there where I can play with it. I'll see, ultimately though, it would not physically coming around and over where I can slide this thing in. The only way to do it is two pieces. So I was like, wow, I didn't even think about that. But it seemed like, as ugly as the welds are, and I know they're definitely ugly, I managed to do this, and it's not so bad. The only thing is, to strengthen this, I put a piece of metal here, and I figured it would go flat against this bracket, but then the nut was in the way. And then right here, the inside, when that all sits, it's close to this nut. I may just get rid of that nut and weld the thing, or get a jam nut, or I could just grind down the nut because it's really melted anyway, because it was really one of those plastic insert ones. Not going to be much of a big deal. So that's why I had put just some tack welds on it to hold it. But ultimately, I threaded this, and there's an adjustment here, but I really wanted it to be the whole length, because I did not waver when it came to the distance. I left the other part that I cut off. Don't know if I have it, because when I cut it off, it kind of went flying. And when you're a messy guy like me, things go flying into things that are already a mess, and you can't find anything. So, but basically I made sure, basically this is what I had. This is basically, where it ended before. This went like this. So before I cut this off, because I knew it was the right length, even though it was moving because it was weak here and it was kind of going up and down, you can kind of get an eyeball of where it's supposed to go. And the center rod, I was putting it through after I bent it back into shape, and it was traveling fine in there. So, but this was like this, so I hacked it off after I welded this. So I should be, okay. That being said, I got this lock washer and nut, and boy, I always manage to lose things right when I'm gonna make a video. Oh, here it is. It's over here. So basically, it's going to be like this, and hopefully, because it's mild steel, the nut doesn't, the threaded hole doesn't get messed up. But come on, bolt. Hang on, gotta put the phone down. Boy, Can't even get a nut for the hole. Anyway, so I just realized that when I do this, I had to grind that away. So there's still some strength in that, but you know, probably a little less than I thought. Let me just thread this bolt to show you what I was doing. Tightening it, but actually there's an adjustment there. Hang on. I have to push it in. So basically what I did, I have the metal up against here, and this metal went up against there. This particular bracket was for something else, and it kind of hooks over. So it's pretty rigid, all things aside, and this will hit there. That's at the top, and that'll, you know. So this should work, although, see, I grinded this off. Now I just realized, it depends what is actually on center here, because now, you know, when it's not in the car, I mean, it's hard to say what shape it's going to take, but I may have to grind this down. I may have to grind more off this. Obviously, there's a limit. But it's real close to, that's all the way down and it's there. I mean, it wouldn't be the end of the world if it touched, but it's probably not a lot where I have to grind off, because the weld is sticking out. I didn't finish off that weld. And this guy here, I cut off the hole of the nub that looked like that, but I didn't go crazy. I left it a little bit thick here, so that's another thing. So I think this is a good stepping stone right now as far as figuring out what I had to do. So I just still got to grind that off. And this guy here is, you know, I got to find all the pieces for that in the car. I'll probably bolt this part on the car and tighten this in the car, because I'll get a better idea. But ultimately I got to figure out what I want to do with the rod. I probably got to get more of these guys, these rubber things. You know, I'm sure just a piece of vacuum line cut in the hole will help it glide. I'll probably lube it up, because this had one at one end and one at the other end, and that was it, because it's sitting in that thing there. But I'm going to put, you know, an extra one here and then an extra one on this, but far enough in. And basically, like I said, I bought these threaded rods to kind of I bolted together the thing to keep it still. Didn't quite work without without shimming it, but it was good, because I was able to play with the nuts and adjust it and say, okay, I went too far, I backed it off, then it went back into shape. So oh, that's nice, my coffee spilt it. Anyway, where is, I bought a 1/4 inch right here. Okay. So I figured I'll get a piece of flat metal on either side. This is 1/4 inch, so it's stronger than what's there, that rod, because obviously, you know, you start sticking the rod out more, and it can, you know, maybe start going sideways. So at least if this side is more rigid. The other thing I was thinking about, because this can't move, so I probably got to make a loop for it to sit in, and one end has to be removable at the very least. But you know, it's not going to be fun to do, but it's probably easier if this went on part with that guy, and then when I bolt this together, I have something coming up here, and it bolts on there. And the other thing I was thinking of, whatever piece of whatever loop I get to hold it, it's got to go in. Actually, I was thinking about welding 1 or 2 next size smaller these guys. These extension rods. Hang on. So basically, here we go. So I can imagine if this was in there, you know, it's not really ideal in a certain sense, because you can hear the noise that it makes. It's gliding somehow, you know, in some fashion there. So I can also end up with a straight piece of rod. I can get the 1/4 inch ones and then drill them out so they're smooth. I can get bigger ones and put, you know, rubber inside them, or plastic, a little huya, so they slide better, something along those lines. But it's got to be able to articulate in and out about 1 inch, and basically, you know, continue the movement here. You know, so I'm not 100% sure, just something I was throwing around. And so far so good though. I mean, I'm still quite impressed with the way everything ended up. And you know, that nut has to be there because I think it's going to end up resting there when you go, or at least go like that. You know, like I said, ultimately there. But you know, it's really not that bad. I mean, and technically, I can put it in the car. I can put the whole thing in the car like this too. I don't have to have it separated. Technically, you know, it should go in where I want it to go. It's just that if it ever had to be taken apart, it'd be a lot easier the other way. But you know, honestly, it's really for taking it out of here. And I think this bracket would actually fit through here, but it's a real pain. It's not something you want to keep doing. But you know, I got these wires here. They're all frayed, and it's frayed right here where the metal thing here meets. You know, so this is all got to get taken care of, and it's a little frayed right there. You know, the outer casing is frayed. I really can't see the wires, but it's like you can't even get to those wires. You got to drill out the rivets, I guess, and then you got to replace it with rivets. Maybe you get a nut and bolt. But ultimately, I don't think it's too bad. See, like I'm not getting that down all the way. So regardless of where, well, actually, it would go down if it was out more. So it really depends what is an actual center line. So like that is kind of on center line right there. So it does, but that does end up there. So as long as it ends up that it's going, but like I said, I might have to just grind that a little. Probably be for the best. Yeah, so it's not too bad considering I was really worried like something's wrong here, you know, because I couldn't get the thing in, and then it bent on me. So ultimately, it would be better to use a real good piece of steel that you can get somebody to bend it for you somehow. And if I initially didn't use the alternator bracket, which would have been the right move to not use it, or if I was going to use it to make it come all the way, but I just think it's too close for call. If it was going to end here and it was right up against here, that means I have to go at least 1 inch back, 1.25 inches. Then it starts getting real funny. It's like I don't know how much actual you know, movement I would have, and I'm like, why didn't I just make it longer? You know, so I should have thought about a different metal. You know, but ultimately, whatever you make, you want to slide it over the shaft, weld it in place, and then you cut out your sections. You know, and the stronger that is, obviously, the better it is, you know, but you can't assemble it on, you can't put it together and weld it over here, you know, because then you'll never get it out. Not that you'll need to get it out, but you can't even get this guy out from there. You can't put that guy out, in from that way. Everything is just not made to be taken apart. You know, this thing was a straight shaft meant to be taken straight out. So the way I did it here worked, and honestly, if you put this on the top, that's the way you got to go. See, I don't even have the U-bolt in here. Believe it or not, the U-bolt does not come out of the car. Like even when it's like it's almost impossible. Or I think I got it out finally, but you can't get it back in. But the way I realized, I grinded a little off the end. I'd like to find it so I can show. But basically, it's a U-bolt, and I took off the last 3 threads because then it just has to go up a little bit, and then it'll slide out, and I'll be able to still get it in because you got to get it in with this thing in, and then you lift it up, and you can actually attach 1 thread, and then that thing should slide inside it, and you can line it up. But ultimately, I would not have grinded. I grinded the sides because I thought on an angle it was gonna. Here it is. So I grinded this, and it actually made it more difficult to go in. It's binding, you know, and it's not that anything is coming up. It's just the nature of it. It really, for it to slide smoothly in this, it's got to be the same width on both sides. So I think it goes in smooth one way, but then it doesn't come out. But I have to put it in like this. So going in, it's kind of smooth, but pulling it out, it's a pain in the neck. You really got to loosen it. But you see I knocked off a bunch of the threads just having enough. So when when these chrome nuts go on, you can see the stud is about halfway down. So I took about, I want to say, 4 to 6 threads off there, because there was no way to get it in, So this is not even in right now, but I mean, I assume it's going to be fine. But you can see there's a space down there, so when everything's all tightened, it's going to probably fit better. But actually, this is bigger than this, so it might be all the way down already, because it actually goes on the inside there. So that's about it, but I didn't mess it up totally. So like I said, it's not actually not too bad, as long as I did get it to weld on the right spot here, which I believe I did. This flat spot is not equal with this. It's off slightly. I mean, very slightly. So if this guy's going this way, yeah, see, it's just under. So this guy here, see, it's like that. Yeah, it's close. It's very possible that the original one was twisted, and maybe it's supposed to be, a flat spot here, that equals that. But obviously, it doesn't matter too much. There's enough adjustment that you could play with it. Where's that original bracket that goes over that? Right here. Oops. So this guy here, you have this that goes on there. Sloppy in there already, but when the nut gets tightened, you have a lot of room to make up for it. So it's not really too big of a deal. The more so of doing that is to make sure that it's straight. It's just a straight rod. Because the rod was pretty rigid until I cut it. So I'm hoping that all this works, and it should. I don't think it's going to stop bending when I start, shifting and moving it. So I hope not. But like I said, this is the only thing right here. Ultimately, it's not really that great. But again, I probably could have done something a lot better. I might have done it over if I had another shaft. But it is what it is at this point. But at least I know the process now. Which I didn't think of these things, because that's what happens when you try to re-engineer something. You can do it, but there's consequences, So that guy's got to get grinded. This guy's got to get grinded. That guy's got to get grinded. And then it's got to be test fitted in the car. I got to redo the wiring. I'm still looking for the clamp I had bought for this, but somewhere. Anyway, it's not even necessary, to be honest. But so far, so good. I must say, I'm happier than it seems. But like I said, that guy, I have it flat up against there, and if it had to go over here, as long as it stayed up, it'll be okay. But, going this way, see that? Like that. That's the only thing I'm worried about now, is not getting the full articulation. Because when that's all the way down, it kind of is over here, but it doesn't quite seem on center. But then again, it really is, I think, So, I don't know if I'll grind it first or give it a test fit and see what happens. But I'm done for now. I got to go to work for a couple of days on a movie. And a lot of this stuff goes. I was actually thinking about making something so that this guy becomes on the right. I'm sorry, on the left. This is the directional signal switch. It's on the right side, so it's so unnatural. But what I was thinking is something where you unscrew this, you put a stud coming here, and you bend a piece of metal, and you have it go out, and you reattach this on the other side, and you have a nut going onto there. So you have this, whatever, you can get it chromed, but if you go, it'll go around this, and you have it in this general vicinity. That way, when you click it on and off, it's more natural. And then, having it chromed or something like that will probably make it look, relatively normal. Weird rinky-dink things. You could even make it a circle if you really had that ability to bend that kind of metal and then get it chromed and blah, blah, blah. Because I just feel it's really stupid on this side. But again, it's 1940, and this is one of the first cars. I think this is the first car that ever had a directional signal, and it was an option back then. But that's pretty cool. But I'll probably put four-way flashers on it as well. Because that's, not hard to do once you figure out the wiring. with a special, I guess you need a 3-prong directional signal, you know, but maybe not even, you know, there's different ways to wire each one, you know, but so far so good. I'm actually pretty happy with this. And what else? I guess that's it, you know. This is it's coming along. It's the most work I've done in the shortest amount of time, but I gotta find the water pump. I gotta put all this shit on, but oh yeah, I actually got through. I was thinking these are like GM things, and I took out the screw-in ones, and it actually kind of works. It's just that these are bigger than the hole here. I was thinking of a way just to push in the grill, and then you screw it here, you know. This is a bracket I made for the alternator bracket. This I measured wrong, but I'm going to put, I have these big ARP head bolt washers that I'm going to put there that ended up in the right place, but I used a Hyundai bracket with an adjuster on it. I may have to just grind this a little bit. But then I made this with the AC where if you tighten this nut now, which I had to make this big ass thing, but if you could tighten it, let me see if I can show you what the gun I have here. What a mess. Anyway, that's what I'm known for. Let's see. I think that's pretty fucking cool. And when you release it, you know, you got to push, but the belt would be on it, so you know it would push back. But also, I got the radiator and I got the condenser, and I use more of these the studs, you know, that you cut from Home Depot. I put the black studs in the center, facing this way, and that's what the condenser is on. And I have a 12-inch fan coming, because this big 16-inch fan, it actually just barely fit in there. It was kind of funny, but then all of this was where the fan was, and I think that's going to add turbulence and in the end not get enough air. So I'd rather do that, and then maybe I could put 2 small 7-inch fans if I really had to. But I had to actually tighten it on the ends first. See the studs and the spacing I had to do. I put some foam going around. I had to get, this was the where the drain petcock is, and I had them do it right at the bottom of the pan. There you could see it sticking out, because it was in the way, and it was making it hard. I had to space it out 2 inches. This radiator is significantly bigger, at least a 1/2 inch or at least a 1/4 inch bigger than the other thing. You see, I made these studs. The top studs really don't do anything on the other side because it kind of curves in. See it? Yeah, basically the metal curves in, so there's nothing to do on there. But I put the stud very long in the bottom so that I can do it on this side as well, and use the same stud for mounting. And it came out pretty kick-ass. And I have room to put this water pump back in, and that's going to be the sensor for the turn on for the fan, for the AC. I have a sensor that's just going to turn on the fan anyway, for the AC fan that'll turn on in case it gets to a certain temperature, since these things get hot. I'm hoping this radiator cools much better, but the electric fan coming on will help. And then I'll have the AC, but you can see the studs down there. And my phone sucks, but oh well. What else? And that's the thing for that. I'm going to come off there. And I was going to add an extra piece. I was going to put one of these extension things because I think it's fine thread, so I had to get it from Granger and stainless steel. But I figured I could put a bolt in there if I really had to put an extra mount. But I think it's going to be pretty solid. But I got to get this elbow here lost in my mess somewhere. So that's another thing I got to find. But that's progress for me, because I haven't touched it since February of last year. You know. I did do, like in May, I did all the brakes. Did all the brake lines were like, they're 30 years old, but the car never rode anywhere, so they were all new, you know. And I put, you know, the master there. I'm going to put a separate reservoir that comes up. I got to rewire the brake lights because all these wires are frayed. I got a proportioning valve in there. So I did put this carburetor on, and the carburetor is pretty kick-ass. It runs good. I had to get rid of a ticking noise with adjusting. Like I said, I already, in old videos, you can see I upgraded the oil filter to a spin-on style. And so far, so good. Like I said, I want to be able to drive this thing like I could drive it every day if I had to, you know. And basically, I made it with the brakes and everything so that a stunt driver could probably drive the car and be comfortable and feel safe in it, you know, and stuff between the braking and the goes and everything. And the only other thing is to convert it to automatic. If the clutch ever goes, I don't think I really want to fix the clutch. I'd rather convert it to automatic. Torn between, you know, putting a Chevy in there and then have the you know, this is all from the radiator. I had pinholes in it, and fucking shot rusty water everywhere. Anyway, so, and then the interior and this and that, you know, so hopefully, this is me doing this on the cheap too. Every time I spend, like today, I spent $80 on stuff and taps and bolts and shit, you know, but I must say I'm rather impressed because this is not my forte, you know. I mean, I have an idea, you know, at least I know what a finished product looks like, and that's about it. But I'll end this now. I gotta get going. Gotta go home. All right, take it easy.